Yeah, and as we know, one of the heroes, the absolute heroes of the resistance that has kept us all, hanging on to hope these last 4 years.
Yeah.
Speaking of rock star cheers, Chairman Adam Schiff joins us this morning. Um, Chairman, you said it best. You tweeted, over the last 4 years, our democracy was tested in ways we never imagined. At times, it seemed to falter, the guardrails tumbling down, but in the end, our democracy proved resilient because truth mattered, right mattered, decency mattered because of you. Oh, rockstar cheers
Yep.
for us and for you. I can't imagine how you feel this morning or how you felt Saturday. Can you share with us?
Oh, just so relieved and joyous. And watching Joe Biden speak the other night, I think we all had the reaction, oh my God, that's what a president sounds like.
Yes.
I'd almost forgotten after 4 years that this is what a president sounds like. And to have someone of great decency back in the White House, to have someone who's not going to get up every morning determined to find new ways to divide us and pit people against each other. It's such a relief. And, I just can't imagine what our country would have looked like if we'd gone through 4 more years of this. So I'm just thrilled.
Yeah. Um, as you said, we there was no one we wanted more for our election celebration show than you. That you've been our fearless leader through all this, and as you said, it was hard to get your watermelon head to rest atop your pencil neck. So the fact that you were able to, I mean, it's,
It's a difficult balancing act. It really is.
I mean, but it's like that's the absurdity of this person. That this he was talking about your watermelon head at campaign rallies. I mean, he literally had no campaign this time. It was just
Stephanie,
cheap
I'll tell you
insults.
the degree to which I take credit for Joe Biden's victory is this: that during the last 2 weeks of the presidential campaign, when the time of the campaign and the candidate is an absolute premium, you're making your closing argument. Donald Trump was spending time at the rallies talking about me when he could have actually been talking about something that might have mattered to the American people. And
Yeah,
so, to that degree that I pushed him off message, I take full credit for Joe Biden.
as you should, as you should. And may I say, it's also hard to be shifty while having a watermelon head. So you are really a multitasker.
Oh my God.
Just that we don't have to have these conversations anymore
Yeah.
with the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Can we? Because you were perfect to have on today, not just because you're such a hero, of this whole horrible time in our history, Chairman, but also people like is Krista, my screener, some other people are like, I'm not going to stop being nervous until this is over or until he. But I have to look to you because you're also a fantastic lawyer, clearly. But Neil Katyal was asked on TV last night, "What do you get? What are the chances of Trump succeeding?" He said there is 100% chance he will fail. Um, Even the Alito thing, he said, I would enter the order Justice Alito just entered too. It means nothing. It's just a prudential preservation of the status quo, and that status quo turns out to be very bad for Donald Trump. I mean, none of this, even as a legal strategy, makes sense. I mean, basically, Justice Alito ordered Pennsylvania to do what it was already doing. There is going to be no effect on the outcome, right?
Well, first of all, I found Rudy Giuliani's speech out in front of the landscaping company office to be very persuasive. But I have to admit, it may have been the venue that I found, so compelling, right next to the adult DVD store and the crematorium. But I think really, and this is quite sad and pathetic, but so fitting, the legal strategy is really how do they mollify the child in the Oval Office so that he'll get out.
Yeah.
They feel they need to go through the motions of this to pry him out of the Oval Office. But I don't see any prospect of success in terms of the legal arguments. The election is over, and whether Donald Trump likes it or not, it's over. And I'm grateful too that the country's reaction was joyful. It wasn't violent.
Yeah.
There's certainly a lot of disappointed people, and the biggest thing that we have to come to grips with is the fact that almost half the country, after seeing what this guy represents,
Yeah.
still said, "I want 4 more years of that." We're going to have to somehow get our head around that. But the election's over. The legal challenges are going to go nowhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, this whole trying to get the electors to, throw their votes to Trump because they're claiming fraud. I mean, tell me this is not possible because it's a lot of states, and he's behind in all these states pretty significantly, isn't he? I mean,
He is. He is. It's not possible. It's not rational.
yeah,
It is. I have to say though, both unsurprising at the same time, the usual mixture of shocking that you have people lining up to run for president on the Republican ticket who are pandering to this and saying, as Senator Rubio did recently, that the election's not over and he could win these legal challenges and the rest of this stuff. Are there no adults left in the GOP that can end this nonsense?
well, I mean, Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz, I mean, they throw the word treason around so lightly at you, at President Obama. This feels treasonous to me, them enabling this, ridiculousness. And I mean, and you sort of pointed on Twitter to this, how dangerous that moment was when Trump first started it in that White House press thing. You said, what we just saw was the most dishonest and anti-democratic moment in the history of the presidency. Donald Trump lied incessantly about our election and undermined the very foundation of our democracy. When you say all these celebrations were peaceful, you're right, and I was thrilled about that too, but this does become increasingly dangerous, doesn't it, with he and his enablers continuing this and inciting these mobs of armed people? I mean, this is actually a totally moment not for joking in that regard, isn't it?
He has always played with fire, and we're lucky that the fires have not been worse. It could have been awful in Michigan if that plot to kidnap the governor had gone through.
Yeah.
When he speaks this crazy, as he does so often, there are people who are unwell who are listening. And people with violent inclinations who are listening, and so it is really dangerous. We have to get through the next 70-something days, at which he is probably going to increasingly lash out, and there may be another Saturday night massacre along the way. But when he's finally out, I think we can breathe an even bigger sigh of relief. But for the moment, I'm just so thrilled with the choice that the country made.
And you obviously, pointed on Twitter that this was by design. Republicans stopped blopping proposals to allow the mail ballots to be counted quickly, so he could now claim that they're invalid or whatever. So we saw this coming, and yet here it is. I mean, is there anything you can do in Congress to constrain the damage he can do in the next couple months?
There is. We're going to obviously very carefully scrutinize everything the administration does. We're going to want to make sure the documents are protected and not destroyed. We're going to try to underscore to all the federal employees that it may very well be a crime if they were to destroy evidence. So we're going to do what we can. And at the same time, there are limits.
They've always been so cautious about not committing crimes, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
I'm sorry. I was interrupting your decency and integrity there for a moment.
So, we're going to do all we can. And I think there are real limits. The people that are in the administration who are now very much on the way out are starting to think about where is their future? Do they have a future? Do they want to ruin their reputation even more?
Yeah.
I think there are constraints.
Your tweets were so inspirational. You said Joe Biden's story is one of lost perseverance and human decency. His victory in Kamala shows that in America, those qualities still matter, that right still matters, truth still matters, decency still matters. Rebuilding won't be quick or easy. Let's get to work. I was saying, I think it was Chris Hayes that said, boy, Republicans sure can spin a loss into a win, and Democrats can spin a win into a loss, where I guess that's our nature. But, this red mirage was something we knew was going to happen. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will by far have gotten the most votes of anyone in history. Like, let's take a moment and celebrate. I haven't given up on the Senate. I still think, there is a chance we can take the Senate. And talk about the House for a minute, because I know we lost some seats, but I think people don't realize how unprecedented 2018 was when we gained 40 seats. I mean, we still have the majority, but talk about what you think happened and why, because, anyway, go ahead.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, let's not lose sight of the preeminent responsibility, challenge, imperative, and that was removing Donald Trump, and we succeeded. And I think by the time all the votes are counted, Joe Biden is going to have won a massive popular vote victory and a very sizable electoral
Yeah.
college victory. And given that the electoral college is pretty well stacked against us, that's impressive.
Yeah.
All of President Trump's claims of a landslide, it may very well be that Joe Biden gets the exact same number of electoral votes, 306, that Donald Trump did. So Donald Trump may regret having described it in such historic terms. But I also agree with you on the Senate that Georgia is about to go for Biden. Biden is in the lead in Georgia, and I think that lead's just going to grow. So of course it's possible for us to win those 2 Senate seats.
Yeah.
We know what we need to do. We need to turn our folks out, and we can do so. In terms of the House, in the midterm elections, we basically ran the tables. We won just about every competitive seat that we could win. In California, we did win every competitive seat. And so normally we would be defending all those gains. Now, we had very high expectations. We wanted to build on those gains, and those expectations didn't materialize. And we're going to find out why. But nonetheless, we maintained control of the House. We have a shot at gaining control of the Senate. And we've thrown that bum out of the Oval Office. That's a huge day.
Yay, bum has been bandied. Hooray! But I think the other thing is as you point to, we do have to look at the 70 million people voted for him. But I think that was the other thing is Trump wasn't on the ballot in 2018. So, he obviously drove turnout for his base too. So I would say that was also a factor, wouldn't you, in the House seats in 2020?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Our people came out in droves in the midterms, and everybody came out in droves in the general election. Still, though, I would want to get to the bottom of why all the polling was so wrong.
Yeah.
I don't really understand whether that was a function of, all polling makes a certain assumption about who turns out on election day. And we may have gotten the assumptions wrong, or it may be that Trump supporters just didn't want to answer the questions and didn't participate in the polling. But it wasn't just, internal Democratic polling. It was internal Republican polling was wrong. It was, public, the universities and press reporting, their polling was wrong. So something was going on that was, out of sight. And we need to figure that out, obviously.
Yeah. And to what degree is them blowing up the post office and all their myriad voter suppression techniques, which, that's why I say let's take the win, Chairman, that we fought through all of that for this historic turnout was really. And as you say, now the work begins, getting this pandemic under control, rebuilding our economy, expanding healthcare, fighting climate change, protecting our democracy, bolstering truth and accountability, restoring our standing in the eyes of the world. You wrote a great piece in the LA Times. I mean, I love that he's going to announce a coronavirus task force today. He's going to undo all the executive actions. We're going to be back in Paris, back in the World Health Organization, on and on, right?
Absolutely. And along the same lines of, how we watched that speech of Joe Biden the other night and said, oh, God, that's what a president sounds like again. Today, Joe Biden issued a statement on the very positive results of the vaccine, one of the vaccines clinical trials so far.
Yeah.
And it was exactly what a president should say, which is, this is really encouraging.
Yep.
We're going to work hard to manufacture and get this out as soon as we can and do it safely. But in the meantime, we need to continue to maintain best practices with masks and social distancing, which in the near term can be just as effective as the vaccine.
Right.
That's exactly what a president should be saying right now.
Well, because
and
Travis
and Joe Biden is, but of course it's not at all what we were hearing from the White House.
No, he already did an all caps tweet, Trump taking credit for it, even though Pfizer was very careful to say we were not any part of Operation Warp Speed. We did not take any money. No. We don't want any part of politics. But Travis, you were saying, you were talking to somebody as well, that people have to understand this is still going to take time, right? Mm-hmm. It's very good news. You're right. But go ahead. What were you?
I have a friend who works in clinical trials, drug trials in San Diego, and he said, Pfizer is a great company, so he trusts their results, what they've said. But he also said that it's going to take a lot of time because what Warp Speed didn't plan for was the refrigeration facilities and the facilities that are going to be needed to get this virus or this vaccine distributed. It's 2 shots, not 1 shot, right. And you're probably going to need to have a booster shot every year like the flu vaccine.
Right,
so it's not that simple.
Right. But anyway, but that's what I'm, again, science is back, listening to doctors is back. So this is hopeful news, but it's not, as you say, Chairman, it's what we really need is the behavioral stuff like right now, because that's all we can do right now.
Right.
The best news is that you want to do happy hour, so we will get an uncensored, sexy liberal, unchained Adam Schiff at some point. But,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations to you on winning your nail biter of a congressional race. Whenever your opponent's commercials came on, I just went, oh, please.
My reaction was a little stronger when I saw the commercials.
And maybe we will find out that reaction on Happy Hour.
You are apparently responsible for everything bad in the history of the universe.
That was me and my watermelon head.
Yeah.
We love you, Chairman Adam Schiff. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Congratulations.
Bye-bye.
And congratulations to America.